Tonight's very special episode of the PlayStation Showcase is going to be dedicated to the memory of my grandmother who passed away this morning, Sandra Scoville, 1945 to 2025, and to my mother, whose anniversary of her passing was just this past Monday, Veronica Best.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome as the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program proudly brings to you the PlayStation Showcase. It is with heavy hearts and on a very somber note that we bring you tonight's episode. As was alluded to before we rolled the intro, tonight's episode is dedicated to the memories of Chris Best's grandmother, who passed away this morning, and the memory of his mother, whose the anniversary of her passing was earlier this week. Mr. Best, my deepest condolences to you, my friend. I'm humbled and honored to be able to be a part of this show and do this with you.
Thank you, man.
Having known your grandmother, I don't remember your mom that well, but having known your grandmother.
My mother passed away before you and I met, so
okay.
But yeah, you have met my grandmother, and I have the memory of the first time you guys actually met too.
Okay.
And it was at camp, of course.
Right.
And she had never met you before, but she knew Julie, your sister. You wanted to take me and Tim out for wings one night. But she was so uncertain because she hadn't met you. And I'm like, okay, I had to go to your trailer to get you. And I'm like,
Yep.
You have to meet my grandmother just so she's safe. Because we were driving into Thessalon and she wasn't sure about me. And I can't remember where we were going for wings. I can't remember if it was the Sinton or if there was a restaurant. Was there a restaurant called JJ's Chicken or something like that in Thessalon or something of that nature?
No, there would have been Juniors or JRs.
Maybe that's where we were going then. Because it was like late 90s that we went. I remember that.
Yeah.
And we went there for wing night because the wings were like super cheap there.
Right.
And I just remember like you were so pleasant with her and she was like just so pleasant with you as she has been with all of my friends. I mean, my grandmother was not just my grandmother, but she was the grandmother to every one of my friends.
Yep.
You know,
she was.
She made sure that everybody was looked after, especially even at camp, especially when like it was raining out and it was nighttime and the other parents wouldn't let us go and chill at their trailer. My grandma was like, yeah, come on over, pop a movie in the VCR. I'll make you guys some snacks, sit down and watch a movie. You know,
Yep.
That was my grandmother in a nutshell there. She too was actually a gamer too, and I've got some funny stories that I'm gonna maybe elaborate on later tonight as far as those go. I would like to get into some PlayStation news though. as well, because we were just talking about this prior to going live. 3 new games are coming to the PS Plus, and there's one game that I'm extremely excited for, yet disappointed that I can't play it. And that's Payday 3. It's a game, the Payday series is a game that I've been wanting to try, wanting to pull that trigger on, but I'm
Right.
not sure about it. And as far as I know, it's all about like heists and all that kind of thing. Am I correct on that one?
To be honest, I've never played them. Though they have been available on Game Pass. I sort of think it's, from my understanding and the little bits I've seen in video clips, it's sort of a much more tamed down version of Grand Theft Auto. So I'm going to say somewhere probably in between or maybe even below Watch Dogs. So
Yeah,
somewhere
so when
in
you
that type of a genre.
yeah, so when you say tamed down, you mean like a little bit more grounded, because like in GTA, there's a lot of like wacky vehicles that you can, or some wacky vehicles that you can use. It's not, GTA is not quite like say Saints Row would be, where everything is wacky in that game.
Right.
But yeah, that's, I mean, from the videos that I watched today, it is high octane co-op. There's the key word there, co-op. Bubba and I have been looking for some cross-platform co-op games. Although unfortunately this is only on PS5, I will still be grabbing it and adding it to my collection.
Right.
For when I have the PS5, that game will be there for me to play. But it is a co-op FPS experience for up to 4 players online. So that would again possibly be me, Bubba, you, Hulkster if he wants to get in, Parrish if he wants to play. We fill the shoes of the Payday gang, the envy of their peers, and we just got to fight law enforcement while doing bank heists from this description. But this next game, though, you actually said it was a decent game when we were talking offline, and that it was a hilarious game. And I've been wondering about like comedy games myself, because we don't really see a lot of them, but High on Life is coming to PS4 on February 4th.
Yes.
And you said this was an extremely funny game, and you've played through it, correct?
I have completed the game. I have not, or the base game, sorry. I was unable to get the DLC. But this game is absolutely hilarious. Yes, some of the humor is crude and absurd, but you do go and you pick up missions and assignments and all of that.
Yeah, and it's made by the guys who well, they make Rick and Morty. So anybody who likes Rick and Morty, you're gonna like this game.
Yes. And I'm not a fan of Rick and Morty. I laughed my ass off during this game. I couldn't put it down. And I mean, in some of the cases, the graphics are just so absurd.
Right. See that when I looked at the graphics, because I watched the video and I'm like, ooh, it looks like a lot of fun. And my initial thought was, is this Overwatch at first because of the way the graphic style looked? And then I saw the talking guns, and then there was like a talking knife I saw, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't Overwatch.
No. And it's funny because like, it's all your guns that do all the talking. They're the ones that do all of your negotiating. You never hear your character's voice.
Okay, so you're kind of like the silent protagonist in this sense, right?
To a sense, yes, because the way this all starts out, you're probably maybe a 12 or 13-year-old boy who's stuck being babysat by his 15-year-old sister, and she's planning a party, and that's when everything goes to complete rat shit.
Oh, okay.
But this game, it's hilarious. And like I said, I am not a Rick and Morty fan. This game was brilliant. Your knife is very critical, because that is also, not only is it a knife, that's your grappling hook.
Cool. You say grappling hook in first person shooters. I actually like grappling hooks, especially I want to say, yeah, the ones in the Far Cry series I enjoy. They're not like grappling hooks in the Far Cry series. They're not ones that you fire off of the trigger, but it's hooked to a rope and you throw it up,
Right.
But yeah, I can see myself having some fun with this game. I do enjoy some first person shooters. I'm extremely picky though with my first person shooters. Extremely picky. But
The boss fights are quite entertaining. And even like when you get to certain areas, like you are going to have to do side quests as part of a main quest, even though there's no real RPG elements to it.
right.
But again, like as you collect all of your weapons, and I mean it, like they are hilarious. The
So
DLC was called High on Knife, and it was
yeah.
actually Halloween oriented.
So then what do you say, because we've already planned next week's episode, we're going to do take a look at Madden 25 for next week's episode. I think this is going to be second week of February. I think we'll take a look at this game, because by that point I'll have the experience in play and have played it.
Yep.
But this last game is actually a game that I was interested in playing back when it originally came out on the PS2. And it's only because I've won it. I have a curiosity with how Pac-Man games are being handled, and we're getting a remake of the 2004 game Pac-Man World. Pac-Man World didn't get a lot of love on the PS2. I remember that very clearly. But I'm curious. I want to play this because I'm curious to see how Pac-Man games are handled. Were handled, I should say, in the mid 2000s. I kind of know that with Pac-Man games these days, they've gone back to the original a little bit.
Right.
Especially with, I think it was Pac-Man 256. They went back to the original one.
Okay, I wouldn't know. I don't think I've played a Pac-Man game since it was a tabletop game at Sandro's Pizza. So I'm really going to date myself there.
Not really, because Sandro still makes fantastic food. Their buffets are delicious.
Sorry, it wasn't Sandro's Pizza. It was... Oh...
Now I know that the Pac-Man they had that in the arcade that used to be in the Station Mall where Tim Hortons is now.
Yep. Oh, Soriano's Pizza.
Oh, geez, it's been a while since I've had pizza from there. I don't think they're around anymore, are they?
They are not.
Shoot. But yeah, I mean, I've had that curiosity about Pac-Man games. I have Pac-Man, like the original Pac-Man, on my phone that I play, but it's not quite the same as, playing with a controller or in the arcade. My first and only Pac-Man experiences have come from, as far as console goes, is the crappy Atari 2600 remake, and there's where I go into my first memory of my mother in gaming. That was the first game she showed me how to play. The very first game she ever showed me was on the Atari 2600. I had to have been about 3 years old when she showed me how to play Pac-Man. Did I really understand why I was doing what I was doing in those games? No, but I just knew that I had to get all the pellets before the ghosts killed me.
Right.
And that was just so when it comes to my mom, that we're playing her most favorite game in Final Fantasy IV. Now she would have remembered it as Final Fantasy II, and there's a little bit of a weird story surrounding this because in Japan it was released originally as Final Fantasy IV. So when it came time for Final Fantasy VII to come out, Final Fantasy VI had been released over here as Final Fantasy III. So a lot of people were like, when Final Fantasy VII came out, everybody was like, well, where's 4, 5, and 6? What the heck happened there?
Right.
So people had, places like IGN had to report that in Japan, they released the actual Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy III were released in Japan only. So when they decided that they were going to make Final Fantasy IV and release it over in North America, they were like, well, wait a minute. If we release it as Final Fantasy IV, people are going to wonder, where is Final Fantasy II? Where is Final Fantasy III?
Right.
So over here, they had to release it as Final Fantasy 2. And Final Fantasy 6, for Final Fantasy 5 got released strictly in Japan as well. So when they made Final Fantasy 6 and they wanted to release that to North America, that also had to be released as Final Fantasy 3 over here. So that's where the confusion is now. And again, it took them years to actually say, hey, the Final Fantasy 2 is actually Final Fantasy 4. Now, in this game, you play as a character by the name of Cecil. He's the leader. He's the leader of the Dark Knights, or the Red Wings, and I'm not talking about Detroit.
Right.
He's been tasked by the King of Baron to go and capture all these crystals, and the King Baron is the city that he lives in, or that Cecil lives in, and he's oh, what is it now? He's not sure like if this is like what he should be doing, you know?
Right.
So like he's feeling down about it in this sense. Like the crew is trying to tell him orders are orders, but killing innocent people, not a cool thing to do.
Right.
And we're about to show where he's just come from as far as that goes. Oh, cool. Breaking news on the wrestling front from one OMD here that we're going to just talk about right here, right now. Clash in Paris is happening August 31st.
Yes. Clash at the Castle Paris.
I'm reading it as Clash in Paris, so that's what they're calling it. But yeah, that's again. I mean, what was it? It was last year, right? They did Backlash in France, and the crowd was insane there.
Yep.
So now, yeah, we've seen they went to this city called Mysidia, and they took away one of the crystals there. Now these crystals are supposed to have like this. They're supposed to grant you like this power of like world domination, essentially. So it's not a good thing that this is happening, you know. The Mysidians knew too much about the crystals. Their possession of one is a threat to Baron. And another story about my mother. This is actually the first game she's ever taught me. The first Final Fantasy game she's ever taught me.
Okay.
And all these years, I'm like, wonder why this game and not like Final Fantasy 1, because she did have that one on NES.
Right.
Come to find out some years later, this is actually one of the more easier Final Fantasies. So I'm like, okay, she was dipping my toe into the realm of Final Fantasy with this game.
Right. And I find it funny, like, because I've never been able to get into them. I didn't even realize that Final Fantasy was out on the original NES, and yet I believe it's actually available for me to play on my Switch.
Yep. I have access to every single Final Fantasy with the exception of Final Fantasy 16, which unfortunately is on PlayStation 5, and the new final and the second half of the second part of the Final Fantasy 7 remake. That's also on 5 on the PlayStation 5, which I really need to invest in that so I can play some Final Fantasy 16.
Yes.
Yeah. So now I'm not doing any.
You need a lottery win.
Yeah. So right now I'm not controlling this fight at all. But this is all just part of the story.
Right. I do find it interesting because, I mean, we did the original Final Fantasy VII followed by the remake. and
Mhm.
now we're back to these original. I guess not even original, but the 64. Well, what feels like 64-bit graphics, but it could just be 16-bit, and I'm looking at it wrong.
It's well, see, yeah, this is a pixel remaster. So all they did was they took the 16-bit Final Fantasy IV and just gave it a little bit of a polish,
Right.
which I don't understand because like when they did these pixel remasters, everybody hated them, and I don't understand why. Because I've got three of them in my collection right now because they did a pixel remaster of Final Fantasies 1 through 6. And I've got three of them in my collection, and I don't see the hate. I don't understand why the hate.
Right.
But for me, this is my go-to game, and this is a game that I definitely would love to play tonight. I'd like to, while we're going through this story and trying to get to the main crux of everything, I want to share a story of my grandmother and her gaming needs.
Please do. Please do.
So, one of her most favorite games. She had two favorite games actually, and her most favorite game on the Super Nintendo was Donkey Kong Country. All three of them: Donkey Kong 1, Donkey Kong Country 2, and Country 3. Anytime she wanted to play a game with us, man, was she ever like super serious about the game. She knew everything about those games inside and out. She knew how to get every secret, everything like that. And
Wow.
she'd funnily enough get upset if you missed a secret. And we'd be like, Graham, it's okay. We always called her Graham for short.
Yep.
Um we'd be like, Graham, it's okay. We've got enough lives to actually survive through the remainder of this game, because you can walk out of like in the first game you can walk out of there with like 30-40 lives and you're good to go for the remainder of the game.
Right.
um and she would also if we wanted to start our own file on Donkey Kong Country, she was so adamant that we do not erase her file. And this is this is my sister coming in, Bree. You can vouch for me on this one because we're talking about Graham and her obsession with Donkey Kong Country. And how she was just so um I don't know what the word is I'm trying to look for. She was just so controlling on like how to play the game. And yeah, she's like I talked about it earlier with everyone. It was just yeah. Another game that I actually remembered, Bree and OMD, that she was totally obsessed with as well was Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I will never
Even
forget. What's that?
even that I remember.
Yeah. So I remember one time, and I don't know how it happened, but somehow her game file got erased. She was not a happy camper. It was funny to see, but she literally like I remember she started the game and she was so far into the game, but somehow it got erased the next time she went back to it, which was always a problem with cartridge games back then. If you put the game in the console wrong, it would suddenly just like do something simple like erase all your files and all that.
Right. All right. Oh, we're moving on to a new spot in the game.
Here, this is yeah. Oh yeah, this is what Bree was talking about too with Donkey Kong Country. She used to make us play as two-player because the game was complete unless you finished alone with player two. Yeah, so you
Yep.
had that in Donkey Kong. Wasn't complete, yeah. It wasn't complete. So like there was you could do two different scenarios. You can play single player or play as a two player, and if you play two player, you get all these extra things in Donkey Kong Country. But the story about her and her obsession with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. One of her main game file got erased, and she was mad, and she literally did like a mad playthrough of that game. Like she sat there just angrily trying to get back to where she was, you know.
Yep.
And it was funny because she never really understood technology, right? So she didn't
Right.
know that like the simple things like damaging the cartridge could reset your file. Like I said, inserting the cartridge into the system in an incorrect way could screw up screw up your save files, you know.
Yep.
But oh, I'm having more memories of her gaming too, and I'm actually going to go all the way back to another favorite game of hers that we were not allowed to touch until she beat it. Super Mario Brothers 3. I
Okay.
remember one Saturday afternoon, I was staying at her house for the weekend, and I go into my ex roommate's room to gather some Ninja Turtles because we were going to take our Ninja Turtle action figures and go play outside. There she is, leaned up on my on his Nintendo console controller, up like this, just playing the game. And then like you would see like Mario, like she would jump with Mario and she would throw her controller up as if she
Yep.
was directing Mario. It was it,
Yep.
it was just gold watching her play and just seeing her smile as she's playing, even though she would get mad sometimes if she died way too many times or anything like that. She also used to do a lot of like Facebook gaming too, and it was mostly like, you know, those match 3 style games like Bejeweled.
Yep.
Bejeweled was her game. And I remember like lots and lots of times she would get like so far in the level, and I'm pretty sure Bree, she's done this to you too. But if she couldn't get past a level, she would ask for our help to try and go and do it. And sometimes we wouldn't know the game that she's playing, and then we'd still manage to somehow get her past that level for whatever reason. But those were her gaming obsessions. She was totally into those Facebook style games. Yeah, see, I still hear those too, Brie. I can still hear the Bejeweled saying, "Great, wow, good job." Yeah, yeah, it's okay, Brie. We're allowed to not be
Yeah.
able
You
to spell
guys
or
don't
anything
have
like
to be
that.
with it tonight. We all know what is being said.
Hmm.
Um, and again, like I'm just, I'm really enjoying these tales and these
Hmm.
stories that you have. So I do apologize to everybody that I'm so
Yeah,
quiet tonight.
yeah, and this game here, this was Final Fantasy IV. Like I said, this was our mother's favorite game. So this was the type of game, like, yes, my mom would get right into it, but she included me, Bree, my brother Liam, and my other brother Anthony in on what she was doing in the game.
Right.
So like if she was in a dungeon or a cave or something like that, and she was just maybe she'd be running to go find the next monster to fight, we'd be like her extra eyes, right? And we'd
Right.
be like, oh, you missed this room over here. And go in that room. There might be a treasure chest in there or something like that, you know?
Yep.
And it was just she always included us in her game style, with the exception of a time where she decided, because we had the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis in the main living room, she was going to put the NES up in her room.
Right.
So when she wanted to go and play some Final Fantasy on the NES up in her room, that was like, okay, we got to leave her be. She just wants to be alone and do some gaming. We'll do some gaming on our systems down here, you know. Um, but this was the game. I still actually have her save file, my mom's save file, on the Super Nintendo version of this game. I have never once gotten rid of it. Never once have I gone in to try and play it. I kept
Right.
it where she left off.
Wow.
So her memory still lives on in that game.
Yep.
But yeah, trying to remember a lot of I'm trying to remember other games that she would have played. Oh, yeah, she so this is another weird thing about my grandmother and gaming. She hated The Simpsons. Absolutely hated it. But she loved The Simpsons video games.
Right.
I don't
You know what?
understand that.
You know what though? There's a lot of
I
people
think
that are like that. Like they grew up,
mhm.
or like I can even look at my parents, and they've never been big fans of The Simpsons. They didn't encourage us to
Mm,
watch it, but they also didn't object.
right.
Um, but yeah, there's just something about those games and everything behind them. Like The Simpsons Hit and Run has always been a cult classic.
Yeah, the game
Um,
she was obsessed with was I think it was called Krusty's Funhouse or something like that. It came out on the Sega Genesis.
okay. Wow.
And I I found it so weird when when I saw that she came home with that game, and I'm like, "Are you all right, Graham?" Because I know she didn't like The Simpsons. She knew that we watched it, but she just wasn't her thing. I remember actually the first time I ever got any kind of Simpsons merchandise. Um, I got a sweater that said "I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?" Which was one of his catchphrases.
Yep.
And I remember her talking to my mom and saying, she had said, I don't think the school is gonna like Chris wearing that sweater. Why don't we why don't we get a marker and black out everything and just say where it says I'm Bart Simpson. Hello. My
Right.
mom's like, I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm not gonna do that. He's just not gonna wear the shirt to school.
Yeah.
But right now, we're at a point in this game right now where Cecil is actually about to question the king and his motives. And he's saying that they're confused, displeased at the order, and what have you do you, and the king's like, do you question my command? And the king is like, do not think your treachery has slipped past me, because the guy on his right there begging had said like, hey, the kid Cecil's thinking about betraying you, essentially. And he's been relieved of the command of the Red Wings, and now he's being kicked out of the throne room. And now I have there's a package that I have to deliver to this little village called Mist. And
Okay.
now here, this guy that just walked in the light blue, that's Kane. That's his best friend. And he's asking to reconsider and saying that Cecil hasn't done anything wrong. And so he's like, all right, Kane, if you're concerned about your friend, go with him. Go on this mission with him, you know? So take the ring and be gone. That's what the package is. And now we're being kicked out of the throne room, and Cecil's saying, I'm sorry, Kane, that I brought you into this mission. And Kane's like, oh, don't worry about it. You'll take command of the Red Wings in no time. Get some rest. We got to leave the preparations to him. So now I can finally explore the castle. Which this feels weird doing this with the thumbstick as opposed to the direct D-pad, by the way.
Right.
So the first thing I usually do after that is I go over to this room here and I grab these, because these are things that are going to help you out. Like, for instance, 480 gil, which again, as I've said in previous Final Fantasy videos, that's your in-game currency. I just
Right.
grab some ether and a tent, Now I have to go to my room to go to bed. Now this woman here, this is Rosa. This is his girlfriend. She's like, thank goodness you're all right. I was so worried you left on such short notice. And Cecil's like, I'm fine. Wish I could say for the Mysidians we slaughtered, because he's feeling completely guilty about doing that. And now Rosa's like, I'll come check on you a little later. And now trying to go to my room, and now this guy here, he's on the right side of your screen here, he's the engineer. Sid is his name. And as Terry and I have mentioned in previous, Sid is a common character name in Final Fantasy lore. In at least every Final Fantasy since I think Final Fantasy 2, the Japanese version of Final Fantasy 2, I mean, there's been a character named Sid.
Okay. Well, I remember you mentioning Sid from 7, so I'm just wondering, is it just the same guy and he just doesn't age, or is it just the same guy getting older and older and older?
No, it's that whole...
or is it just continuity?
It's sort of like a continuity thing. It's kind of like it's kind of like just a throwback, or like a traditional thing that they do for Final Fantasies now, that they have one character named Sid in every one, you know?
Okay.
And it's almost always they're either an engineer or an engineer. They know how to fix things. They'll sell you parts or make weapons for you. With the exception of one, and that's in Final Fantasy 12, where Sid is he's a judge, and an evil judge that you have to fight at some point.
Okay.
And now the king demoted me. What about the Red Wings? So in this one, he's, like I said, he's an engineer. He built the airships that we came flying in on at the start of the game. So he's kind of an integral part of the game, because he builds an airship that you're going to get, 2 airships you get later on in the game.
Right.
And I'm going to check these pots over here, because half the time I can't remember where everything is. This person's really nobody. And it's going to tell me to rest, so it's going to trigger the next story where his girlfriend shows up. And he explains everything that he had to do in the city of Mysidia, where he killed everybody to take the crystal. And he's questioning the king again. I'm basically just giving you the gist while I rush through these, because some of these things are a bit wordy, and I want to get to the main crux of the gameplay, because
yep.
What's going on? You just returned from Mysidia. Now your journey afar to battle. Oh yeah, we have to go and take out a dragon that's inhabiting a nearby cave. That's another thing we have to do.
So I know we were sort of discussing this earlier, and I know you're looking at this with a grain of salt, but this was reshared by Jimmy Corderas from somebody named Steve Argentaru, saying congratulations to Paul Triple H Levesque on his selection to the Hall of Fame. His entrances were among my favorite to shoot, especially at WrestleMania.
Okay, so he's got to be one of the cameramen or something like that. If Corderas is sharing it, there's a bit of truth to that, you know?
Yep. And in this, it says he is with Shawn Michaels' Instagram and 6 others. So
there's 2 people right off the top of my head that I think will be inducting him in. Stephanie or Shawn.
Yeah. Oh, they've already said it was already, they don't know who's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Or even if there is going to be inductors this year. Yeah. They're the two most likely candidates. I mean, you could go X-Pac, uh you could do
Kevin
Road
Nash.
Dogg, Billy Gunn. You could do Nash as well. You could even do The Rock.
You
I
could.
mean, The Rock was one of his biggest feuds, you know?
Yep.
I mean, that SummerSlam ladder match, I mean, that was one of the best ladder matches in history.
Yeah.
Still can't define the king, hopeless coward, blah blah blah. And then Cecil, I would know would never whimper like this. Okay, so like she's all worried about him going on this mission, but he's like he just basically reassured like I'm gonna be okay. Another thing we used to do, my mom used to actually do this for this game. It's There's an option in this game where if you encounter a character by the name of Naming Way, you can change all of your characters' names. So my mom used to do that, and she used to include like myself. She used to include Bree. She used to include all of us like on her in the game, so as if like we were in the game
Right.
and we were going on those adventures, you know.
Yep.
And it was just, it was cool, you know. Yeah, this is a bit of a bit of a part here. This is just the opening crawl, as it were, kind of like Star Wars. But it basically just explains everything I said is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm seeing in our local, one of our local groups there, another truck got stuck just outside my apartment here, coming out of Food Basics off that snowbank again. It's like the
And it
third or
was a
fourth
basic
time it's
truck.
happened. Yeah, I know. Same truck. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same truck I saw get stuck there a couple weeks ago, actually. But right now, I've got control over the world, and of course, the battles are random. I wish I could play the music because one of the options that I really actually like in this Pixel remaster is you have a choice of actually playing the original music from the SNES or a more up to date, more orchestral type sound.
Right.
And of course, when I'm playing this, I gotta go with the original Super Nintendo music, just because it's that throwback, right?
Yep.
It's literally the vibe that I got when I was playing. Because As you know, I picked up the Castlevania Classics collection the other day,
Yep.
and it was little nostalgia vibes playing through Castlevania 2 because that's where I first started with Castlevania games. I've often actually wondered today too, like how my mom would enjoy gaming today, and I'm like, I guarantee you, she would still be playing Final Fantasy. That's it.
Yep.
That's a given. Um, but I've wondered how she would like playing games like Grand Theft Auto and all that. Because when she passed, um, those type of games, those type of mature style games, didn't really exist, with the exception of maybe Mortal Kombat. And she let me
Right.
play Mortal, so I'm wondering if she would have gotten into playing stuff like that too. There's a part of me that thinks that maybe she would have, especially. Oh yeah, yep. Bree saying she would like Skyrim. She would love Skyrim.
Yeah.
I because that's one of those games where you could be playing for years and years and years and still not get a mission done and still not even complete the story because there's so much
Yeah.
stuff to do. Another game series I know she would have loved, because I'm pretty sure she would have also liked the book series, The Witcher.
Yeah.
I guarantee you she would have played that. She was all into like these fantasy style games, like this game, Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, I mean, that's
Dungeon.
now one of the perks to having Netflix is I think I might actually check out the Witcher TV series.
I literally added that to my collection the first day I got back Netflix. I just need to find the actual time to watch it because the way my schedule's been going lately, I
Yep.
really don't have the time to do it, you know?
Right.
So, of course, when just like any game, as I've mentioned in the past, when you go into caves, when you go into buildings, check everything.
Yep. And
And I'm not
I'm
using my
really
special. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm really reminded watching this of again of the Adventures of Link from the Legend of Zelda series. And again, it's
That was
just
her.
stuff that I couldn't get into, but
Mhm. That was her other favorite game, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. She was she. I swear to God, from the moment it got released in '91 or '92 ish, she played and beat that game like 4 or 5 times at least. And she again, just like she would with this game, she taught me everything I needed to know about that game and where everything was. And I'm gracious to have done that to Bree's son, actually, because some years ago for Christmas he got the game on the DS, I believe, and he sat there all day with me asking for help on how to get certain things and where to find certain weapons and all that. And I'm like, oh, you got to go here, you got to go there, and then you got to do this, you know. And of course, I had to use a cure to cure Cecil. I actually forgot to pick up a bunch of stuff at the inside in the village. I forgot to go to the store. So before we go deeper into the castle or into the cave, I will try to get down those stairs, and we'll make a journey back to the store, to the village to get that stuff.
okay.
I just need to pick up potions. I do not like leaving villages with less than 2 potions, and that's what I have in my inventory.
Right. And now they look like their own little cheerleaders.
Yeah. Now I could choose to run away from these fights, but this is actually a great time to do some leveling up as well, you know?
Right.
The only problem I have with these older Final Fantasy games is they don't really hold your hand for finding side quests.
Right.
If you find a side quest, it's not going to point it out on the map for where it is for you.
Right.
You have to figure that stuff out for yourself. Which is probably why I find a lot of today's Final Fantasy games a little bit on the easier side for me because of stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. See, and that's where, I don't mind RPGs for that nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Because it
Yeah,
does
because
allow you to get to a more complete version of the game, or more closer to completing the actual game, whether you're a perfectionist or not.
Yeah, and the first Final Fantasy game I ever beat was Final Fantasy 15, and the only reason that is because for like a month straight, and I didn't realize I was doing this. I was doing side quests all month, and I'm like, how come these missions are not tying together? Like, why am I going in fetching this for this guy and then bringing it back, and why isn't it like tying to the overall arcing storyline? So I go
Right.
into my menu to take a look, and I'm like, oh, I've been doing side missions for like a month straight. And no word of a lie, a month straight. I was doing side missions.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
by the time I realized that, my characters were all at level 60. So I'm like, I could probably beat this game on my own now. And I switched over to doing story missions, and I flew through them.
Right.
So I'm buying my potion now. I like to buy 10 of them, and I'm buying the Phoenix Down, and now I'm broke. Phoenix Down is what revives your characters.
Yep.
There we go. Now I can go back to the cave and safely get through it. I'm actually going to run from this one because Kane is weak, and I don't like that. Nope, not magic. The item menu in Final Fantasy, the Super Nintendo version of this, does not look anything like this.
Okay. Is this actually easier to read than the Super Nintendo version, or?
Actually, it is. It very much is. It's easier to see what all my characters' stats in one shot. It's easier to go to my magic and look at magic, but I'm picking a character that cannot use magic, so yeah, it's a little easier to navigate, but it does take some getting used to, especially if you're coming from the Super Nintendo version to this version.
Right.
I'm pretty sure now that I'm thinking about it that Final Fantasy IV probably has seen more releases than any other Final Fantasy, to be honest with you. Because again, the initial release on Super Nintendo, then they released it on PlayStation 1. Then they released it on PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, because you could play the PS1 version on the PS2 as well.
Okay.
Then they released it as a digital download on the PS3. Then they released a 3D remake on the Nintendo DS. Then they released it onto the PSP alongside a sequel game, which I kind of wish that they would put the sequel game on the PS4, and
Right.
what I'm playing right now on the PS4. And I'm fairly certain, as you have said, it's on the Switch, it's on the Xbox, it's got to be on Xbox as well. It's on PC now. And
Yeah,
I'm
there's
certain
some
there's
Final
other systems
Fantasies
that
on
I'm
the
missing.
Xbox. I just can't remember which ones.
Mm-hmm. And I'm almost certain there's systems that I'm missing that it is on.
Right. I mean, let's not forget the TurboGrafx 16 and the Neo Geo.
They probably are there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the
I
TurboGrafx
wouldn't
system.
be. I wouldn't be surprised if they get re-released on the Switch 2 as well when that launches in April.
Oh, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And I actually, one thing I was happy about when I saw the commercial for the Switch 2, because Well, first things first, I'm going to be happy that the first Switch is going to go down in price now because of Switch 2 coming.
Yep.
But the one thing I'm happy about that I've heard with the Switch 2 is you can take your Switch 1 games, cartridge and everything, and play them on the Switch 2.
That really wouldn't surprise me. But now it's like I just got this Switch for Christmas for Shane and I, and the Switch 2 is coming. And I'm like, I could have saved $400.
I'm going to... Yeah, Lee's also saying it's also on mobile as well. Yeah, it's available on mobile. I'm actually saving up money to buy it on mobile myself. It's also available through emulator on mobile, but we won't talk about that.
Lee, good to see you, brother. Thank you for stopping in. How we doing? It's been a long time.
Yeah, grab the potion, and I think, yep, boss fight right here. Nope, got to move up a couple more steps. Knights of Baron. So this mist that's been floating around, that's the boss that we're going to be fighting.
Okay.
You'll see here in a moment. Show yourself. Choose to ignore my warnings. Yes, I do. We have to get to mist. We're not turning back. So be it. The mist is gathering. So now the mist is gathering, and it forms a dragon that we're going to be fighting.
Okay. Don't I know it, Lee? Don't I know it? We'll have to definitely try and make arrangements to do a coffee soon, but I mean, work, schedule, kids.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So when it turns into the mist like this, you are not to attack. And I just made that mistake, so you're going to see exactly what happens. Yeah, so you attacked with mist, it throws an ice attack at you.
Okay.
So at this point, it's best to just defend until it forms back into a dragon. So now I'm using my special attacks to take it out as fast as I can. Actually, I'm going to see if... okay, it's the same strength for Cecil's attack and his special attack, so it doesn't make a difference what I do with him. The dragon turns into mist, and now I have my mom in my head explaining to me what I need to do. Really, right. Every time I go through this this game, I have her in the back of my head saying, "This is where you need to go. This is what you need to do."
Right.
And I actually just remembered something about my grandmother too. The way she would grocery shop, man. The way she would grocery shop. She would literally my aunt and I shared this story over Christmas, actually. There was the last time I actually went grocery shopping with my grandmother was when I lived in Thessalon. So every month she would drive us up here to the city to get our groceries because it's cheaper to get our groceries in the city than it is at Value Mart down there.
Right.
So my aunt and I, we finished our grocery shopping, and she stops at the Food Basics on on Trunk Road. And she's like, "Oh, I just need to run in and get 2 loaves of bread. You guys want to come in with me?" My aunt and I were like, no, we know what's actually going to happen. She comes back out 20 minutes or half an hour later. 2 carts filled to the brim with groceries. Yep. And she was like, "Oh, I ran into this person. I ran into this person." And we're like, "You said you were only going in for 2 loaves of bread, Graham." Yeah. We had we had her minivan just stock full of my groceries, my aunt's groceries, and her groceries now.
Yep.
And it was just that was the common thing with her too. And she always had a saying too, like if we had money that we wanted to go and maybe spend stupidly on, like if I had like $20 to go and buy a bag of chips, right? She would
Yeah.
say something along the lines of that's 10 loaves of bread you can get for that $20.
Yeah.
And that's a saying. That's a saying that has stuck in my brain every time I get paid now.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life now.
and it's funny you talk about wasting money on chips. The other night I actually tried Doritos dill pickle and Cool Ranch collision.
You have me at dill pickle.
And Cool Ranch together in one chip.
You you have me at dill pickle. I like dill pickle flavored chips, so I'm gonna give it a try regardless.
Oh, these were fantastic. Tonight I had to stop at the grocery store because I actually needed bread on my way home from work. And they
Mm-hmm.
had Doritos Spicy Tropical Fusion chips.
Which grocery store? Basics?
Basics. So I was just like,
That's
yeah, I got to try those.
yep. Maybe that's what I'll do for the Royal Rumble PLE is I'll buy a bag of those and I'll have my first try during the first match of the night or something like that.
Oh, you
Um,
will absolutely love the dill pickle and Cool Ranch.
yeah. That was Graham too. Her snack of choice was either chips or the microwave popcorn.
Well, yeah, that's just about
Mm-hmm.
everybody's snack of choice.
Yeah. And she never called chips like chips. She'd be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go get myself a bowl of chippies," and that's what she
Yep.
would say, chippies.
Yep.
But right now, we're reaching a story part that I'm going to leave on a cliffhanger once we get through this part.
Okay.
The ring is glowing, so this is the package that I had to send without our warning, and our mission was to destroy the city or this village. Yeah, so this is why he sent us here. We destroyed an entire village. Now, the reason why we were sent to destroy this village is because this village, Mist, is actually a village of summoners, and summoners are some of your most powerful magicians in the game. And so, obviously, destroying the village killed just about every summoner in this game, with the exception of this little girl here.
Right.
So now Kane and Cecil are arguing over what to do with her. Because Kane's on the side of like, hey, we should take her down because obviously this was the king's choice. Cecil is like, she's just a little girl. No, we shouldn't, you know?
Yeah.
So then Kane's like, I knew you would say that, so let's do what we can to get her out of this dangerous situation, you know? Then they're saying, we will unite in the fight against the king, but we have to travel to these other cities and get help from from the people of those cities.
Right.
Trying to get out of this situation right now. And she wants to fight us. Yeah, I just sliced a little girl with my sword. But she summons Titan. And Titan causes this gigantic earthquake that separates the town from the rest of the world. She's safe, but Kane has gone missing, and we don't know where Kane has gone.
Right.
And thus, now you actually can explore the remainder of the rest of the world at this point.
Okay.
But I note everybody. Why don't we showcase what we've got going on as far as the Turnbuckle affiliation program goes?
Let's do it. Let's let the good people see where they can find us.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle affiliation program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation ShowCase at 8 p.m. Thursday we got total non-stop action with Brace for Impact at 8 p.m. Friday we game again with Unleashed, the Jessica Wilde story at 7 p.m. Following the game, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. followed by the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
And Mr.
But yeah, that's where you can.
So yes, that is where you can see us each and every night of the week. Mr. Best and I are on for 90% of the broadcasts.
Yeah, I'm not on tomorrow, but I may find my way in on your show. I don't know yet. I'll have to see like how things are going with me on a mental level these days today or tomorrow.
I do want to say tonight, thank you, Mr. Best, for sharing your memories, sharing your stories. They were amazing to hear. Wonderful, very heartwarming and endearing.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how tough this is for you.
It's like losing your mother all over again.
Yep.
Because my grandmother, she raised me from when I was 13 years old when mine and Bree's mother passed away.
Yeah.
She raised the both of us for the last, you know what, I'm going to say it. She raised us for the last 29 years. She was always still there, and she's still there in my spirit. Cause like,
she is.
I think about like when I was cooking my dinner tonight, which I made Kraft dinner and hamburger, which was my favorite meal she would make for me. I have her in my head telling me how to season the beef and all that, you know? And I'm like, yep, that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life.
Yep.
But yeah, again, if you have anybody that you love, guys, hug them close tonight, because you never know when it may be the last time you'll ever hug them again.
Yeah. Tell everyone you love them. Tomorrow is not promised.
Mm-hmm.
What is promised is exactly where you can find us on our socials.
Yeah, and OMD, where will the people look for you?
The people can find me at my Linktree, linktr.ee/OMDshow. And for you, Mr. Best.
One second.
Yep.
I'm lagging just slightly here.
He is. He is.
Am I still here? Because I'm kind of lagging, like my sponsor here. Oh,
You're here now. We're getting you a little bit clearer, but and now we've lost you again.
okay. I'm here still.
You are.
There we go. Yeah, I froze. But if you want to find me, you can find. I'm here. I can see myself not lagging. You can find. So if you want to, guys, you can check out my sponsor here, Swift Energy. Go to Swift Energy. Energy.gg. Use the promo code CBRS Gaming to get 25% off of every order within this store.
It appears, ladies and gentlemen, that we have lost him again. So as you can see here, you can reach him at his Linktree, linktr.ee/Chris_best83. I can go through here and I'll redo his sponsorship for you. And if you want to join us, or if you want to have anything to do with podcasting and get into it, check out affiliation.my.canva.site, and you can be a part of the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program and give us a podcast. We can be your break into it. We can help you with whatever you need. Try and show you the ropes. So, ladies and gentlemen, please don't hesitate. And you could be doing this with us. Mr. Best, would you like to redo your sponsor for us?
Okay, so that's where I froze off. Okay, so yeah, you can find me. Well, actually, if you want to, go to swiftenergy.gg, use the promo code CBRS Gaming to get 25% off of every order. Swift Energy is an energy drink supplement kind of thing. Lots of tasty flavors there. I'm going to be ordering up my first package here within the coming days from them. But yeah, take a look at what's there. 25%. Use the code CBRS Gaming, all capitalized. Can you do my social? Bring up my social there for me.
I did your socials for you.
Oh, you did already?
Did you mention where you're
going to find us? Find me next?
I did not, because I didn't even do that for me. But I did do the affiliation program.
Yeah. So you can find me next. Will be Friday night alongside just OMD. It's only going to be the two of us that night as we do the SmackDown Security Detail, which is the go-home show for the Royal Rumble. In programming note, guys, 6 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing a PLE patrol for the Royal Rumble. And another programming note, this weekend's episode of Saturday Night Gaming is a pre-taped episode. It will still air at its regular time on the CBRS Gaming channel, whereas the PLE Patrol will air across the Turnbuckle Studios platform. And on that note, OMD, this saying tonight is going to be just means even much more to me.
It does.
What do we go out on?
Ladies and gentlemen, the world is a scary place. Take care of each other. And for all of us here, hug your loved ones tight. From all of us here at CBRS Entertainment and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, to those of you out there, wherever you are, good night, good luck. We out.